First of all, what is a chart? A chart is a graphical representation of numbers or values. And I want to insert a chart based upon the values that you see here. Before I insert it, make sure you know where your cursor's at, because wherever that's flashing, that's where the chart is going to be dumped into. Let me hit enter to give ourselves some space in between the table and the chart. Okay, that looks good. Now to insert it, come up here, click on the Insert tab, go to the Illustrations group, and click on Chart. And you can see all the different types of charts like line, pie, and then the different types of pies. There's pie, 3D pie, pie of pie, and you get a preview of it down below. And if you want a larger preview, then go ahead and hover over it, and wow, that's big. Well, I'm going to go ahead and keep it simple and choose column, leave it as clustered column, and click OK. And it does a couple of things. First of all, it inserts the clustered column chart, and it's based upon the data you see here in the spreadsheet. Now the spreadsheet isn't in Excel, it's just a simple spreadsheet. As you can see, there are no commands you'd find in Excel except for the four: the save, undo, redo, and this one right here where you can actually edit the data in Excel. And we'll go over that in just a minute. But right here you've got the dummy data that the chart is based upon, series 1, 2, and 3. There you go, the legend, series 1, 2, and 3, the categories to category 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's go ahead and move the window by clicking on the title bar here, drag it down. I want to be able to replace the data here with the data in the table. And you can do it one of a couple of ways. You can either go ahead and type it in, like type in quarter 1 over series 1, quarter 2 over series 2, and so on. Or, better yet, let's go ahead and click and drag and select the contents. And that's got an empty cell there, and that's got an empty cell there. So what I can do is go ahead and do Control-C, the shortcut keys to copy, and click in the blank cell here, cell A1, and Control-V as in Victor to paste it, and it should accept it just fine. In fact, I can't see all of it, so let me hover over the bottom border until I can see arrows pointing up and down. Click and drag to stretch it open more. Cool. Well, except for this right here, the pound symbols, what's that? When you hover over it, it gives you the actual value of the total for internet sales, which is, well, this right here, $11,657.97. But why is it being hidden? That's called a mask. And if Excel can't display everything within that cell without cutting it off, like maybe the last digit, 2 digits, or just cutting off any digit, it won't display it at all, because it doesn't want you to have erroneous results or false assumptions thinking that, okay, the last 2 digits are cut off, so I think it's $11,657.00. So it says if we can't show you all of it, we'll hide all of it. How do you fix it? Well, you can go ahead and hover over to the right-hand side up in the header between the two column headers, E and F, until you can see arrows pointing in opposite directions. Then go ahead and click and drag, and oh, there you go. But if you double-click really fast, it does what's called a best fit. So it takes the longest contents within the column and fits the column to that, which is this right here. And that looks pretty good. And then if at this point you want to go ahead and, instead of working with the data in this simple spreadsheet, but you have other things that you want to work the data with outside of the chart here, you can come up here and click on Edit Data in Microsoft Excel. Click on it and wait for it. There you go. There's Excel, the fancy ribbon. Let's go ahead and maximize it to fill the window. And you can see we've got column 1. That's fine. And we got category 4. And if I go back to my chart here in the document and click on the button to bring up and restore the window, you can see it's got category 4. Well, that's not what I want in my chart. So what we need to do is go back to Excel by clicking on the button to restore Excel. And we need to get rid of category 4. So select it, delete it, and we're done, right? Wrong, because if we go back, it clears it, but it leaves an empty space here. If you want to take full advantage of that space and to be able to have, well, a larger chart than trying to crunch it over here because of the extra space, then go back to Excel. And you see that little teeny tiny tick mark? It includes everything to the left and above it. So it's including everything to the left in this blank row over into the chart, which is to the right of annual totals in this blank cell here. So we don't want that category there. So what we need to do is to hover over that teeny tiny tick mark until you can see arrows pointing in opposite directions. Then click and drag to push it up, and it moves. Well, I don't know if you can see it, but it's right there in that corner. So everything above and to the left of it, not the blank row, but actually a row that has data in it, that when I close out, hey, it got rid of it. Oh, great. Now if I need to make any changes to bring up the spreadsheet or the Excel workbook, go ahead and right-click And you get a shortcut menu here that has edit data, and then edit data in Excel, as opposed to the shortcut menu here when you right click, well, out of the grid, like up here in the chart title area. You get a longer shortcut menu, but you still get the edit data here. So if you click on edit data here or there, it opens up that wimpy spreadsheet. Well, you don't get much to it, but just a spreadsheet, as opposed to editing the data within Excel. So if I just go ahead and click here, opens up that little teeny tiny spreadsheet with nothing more than just holding the data. Or close out, right click, and then edit data to edit your data in Excel. And then of course, not only does this show up in the chart, but you can go ahead and create other charts within the Excel workbook based upon the data. So you can have a chart in Excel and also in your table, or not even insert a chart based upon the data here, but create other functions and formulas based upon the data here in Excel. And so the data in the range here can be used for a dual purpose. So that's why you may want to go ahead and edit that in Excel if you have any additional things you want to work with your data using the Excel features. Let's go ahead and close out. And then next, working with your chart, you've got these 4 buttons here, which are shortcuts to what you'll find when you have your chart selected. Up here, the chart tools, the related contextual design tabs and format tabs. So first off, you've got the button here, and it looks just like the button right there, right? Wrap text. And what the wrap text does is you can see in the pop-up, and you can choose how your text wraps around the selected object. So you can see a pretty picture there of a star and how the text wraps around it. First off, I don't have any text in here, well, outside of the table that would wrap around the chart, and it couldn't wrap around the chart because the chart is pretty big. And so you can go ahead and click on that and see what kind of options are available. But we'll talk about the layout options with the text wrapping around the chart or, well, any other shapes or objects you have in your Word document in a later training video. But know that this is here if you want to go ahead and have not text above and a below, as you can see in line with text, but maybe just wrapped around it if your chart's small enough. And of course you got your resizing handles here that you can hover over in the lower right hand corner and then click and drag to push it in. Let me go ahead and undo that. In any case, we'll cover that in greater depth in a later training video because that's a training video in and of itself. And then below that you've got this plus sign, click on it, and it's the chart elements, which you can also find up here on the design tab in the chart layouts group, chart elements. Voila, they're all there. So why would you have these buttons down below as opposed to having them up here on the related design and format tabs? Because if you're on another tab entirely, why waste all that time or extra clicks to get to the design tab for your chart elements when you can just click on it and have something simple right here? In any case, you could, but these are the basics. And so let's go ahead and hover over like data labels. When I do that, if you look at the chart, it gives me a preview of it and it shows me the numbers for those columns. So without it, I'd have to hover over the column and go, oh, in the pop-up it says that's 7,600 and some change. So instead of doing it that way, if I'm giving a presentation where I don't want to hover over this, or even without a presentation, I just don't want to have to hover, then go ahead and data labels gives you a preview. If you like it, check it, and it keeps it up, and there you go. If you want more options for the data labels, then pretty much any of these elements, when you hover over it, you get this triangle over to the right, or the More button, as I would call it. Like for chart titles, axis titles, in any case, let's go down to data labels. Click on the More button, and it says, okay, do you want your data labels in the center of the columns? And you can see the preview over in the document there. It's in the center of the columns, or inside, outside, and, which was the default. Or you can go ahead and click on More options, and it opens up the task pane to get more nitty-gritty with the details here. And you can see that your label can contain, well, the default are values. And you can say, well, let's contain the category name, check that. And there you go, the category name's right there. Ooh, you can just have so much fun in here. And then down below the label position, center, select that, updates it. Now when it updates it, notice it just does it for that category that's been selected. So you want to be careful if you want to update all of it. Let me go ahead and hit undo because you can identify one category that you want to focus on. And I don't want to focus on just the one. So let me go ahead and, well, close out of here. And we'll talk about that in greater detail because you can actually select one column here, which includes all the others for the Q2 series. And then if you click on it again, you can just focus on the one here and do some fancy formatting just for that column. But I digress. We'll keep it simple here. And in fact, when it comes to charts, I give you the basics here to get you started in Word, but the master of charts is Excel, and we do also work on it in PowerPoint. So if you want it in more detail, then go ahead and watch my Excel training video on charts. With Word, it's enough to get us started because With Word, it's something that tries to be the jack of all trades in case if you need a simple chart, you got your table. If you need to do some simple calculations, as we did in the previous training video, you can go ahead and do it here. But if you have to do something that's, well, complex, functions and formulas, more in-depth charts, well, Excel's your master there. So we'll keep it simple. So I recommend watching the chart training videos in Excel if you want to get more nitty-gritty. We'll give you enough here to be dangerous, as it were. And then let's go down to the next one, which is the formats, the paintbrush. You got two options, the style and color, which coincidentally you also get up here on the design tab, the styles and the colors. So there's the different styles. Hover over it and ooh, that's kind of quirky. I like that one. You can go ahead and see it in the preview. If you like it, click on it. And then if you want to change the colors, you can see the colors there, but you can also see it over here, the colors as well. And you can see it's got a color for each of the columns within the chart. And if I choose that one, you can see that the first column in the chart is going to be red, the second column is going to be purple, and then orange, enough to feel, well, at least go through these colors before enough columns. If we have more, it'll continue cycling through the colors, but this is the basic palette that you're looking at, so you can go ahead and choose any one of those. And then let's go ahead and click off, go back and choose the chart again. And then finally, let's do the filter. Opens up. Do you want to go ahead and just focus on maybe Q1? Uncheck all the others, and if you click off, it doesn't apply until you click on apply. So select the chart again, click on the filter, because there's the apply. So go ahead and uncheck all those, and until you apply it, it won't show you just what you're focused on, which is Q1. Click apply, and there's Q1. Wow, $1 in catalog sales. Whoa, what a quarter. And then of course you can come back here, click on select all, deselects it, click it again, selects everything, then click apply. And we're back to where we started. And then if you want to change the chart type, maybe you're thinking, okay, a clustered column is not my thing. I want a line chart, a pie chart. You can go ahead and right click on it. Go down to change chart type, which again, if you don't right click within the grid and you right click outside of it up here, you get a different shortcut menu, but you still get the option to change the chart type. Click on it, opens it up, and you can go with something like line. Ooh, that looks okie dokie. Click OK, and ooh, that's pretty crazy. So I'll go back to my column chart. So knowing your data and how much data you have, you may want to experiment, and if it doesn't look good, well, presentation's everything. So make sure you choose a chart that's just right for you. And then let's go down to the next one, which is the formats, the paintbrush. You got two options, the style and color, which coincidentally you also get up here on the design tab, the styles and the colors. So there's the different styles. Hover over it, and ooh, that's kind of quirky. I like that one. You can go ahead and see it in the preview. If you like it, click on it. And then if you want to change the colors, you can see the colors there, but you can also see it over here, the colors as well. And you can see it's got a color for each of the columns within the chart. And if I choose that one, you can see that the first column in the chart is going to be red. The second column is going to be purple and then orange, enough to fill, well, enough columns. If we have more, it'll continue cycling through the colors, but this is the basic palette that you're looking at. So you can go ahead and choose any one of those. And then let's go ahead and click off, go back and choose the chart again. And then finally, let's do the filter. Opens up. Do you want to go ahead and just focus on maybe Q1? Uncheck all the others, and if you click off, it doesn't apply until you click on apply. So select the chart again, click on the filter, because there's the apply. So go ahead and uncheck all those, and until you apply it, it won't show you just what you're focused on, which is Q1. Click apply, and there's Q1. Wow, $1 in catalog sales. And then of course you can come back here, click on select all, deselects it, click it again, selects everything, then click apply. And we're back to where we started. And then if you want to change the chart type, maybe you're thinking, okay, a clustered column is not my thing. I want a line chart, a pie chart. You can go ahead and right click on it, go down to change chart type, which again, if you don't right click within the grid and you right click outside of it up here, you get a different shortcut menu, but you still get the option to change the chart type. Click on it, opens it up, and you can go with something like line. Ooh, that looks okie dokie. Click OK, and ooh, that's pretty crazy. So I'll go back to my column chart. So knowing your data and how much data you have, you may want to experiment. And if it doesn't look good, well, presentation's everything. So make sure you choose a chart that's just right for you. Now, if you want to add a chart title, something that explains what the chart is about, then come up here, click on the Chart Elements button, and check Chart Title. Of course, it adds it, but we've got more options. Go ahead and click on the More button, and you can see above the chart or centered overlay, you can see that when I hover over it, you get a preview of it in the chart. I don't like it, so I won't click on it. But we have more options. Click on that, opens up the task pane, and you can fill it with a solid fill color. It's got purple, but if I don't like it, I can click the bucket and choose something else, like red accent 2 lighter 60%. Or you can come up here, click on the Format tab, go to the Shape Styles group, and you got the bucket there as well. Let me go ahead and close out of the task pane. And then we want to come in here and delete and type over it and add our own title. And then you can hover over the border of it until you can see a four-way arrow. When you do, click and you can move it around. I'm going to go ahead and hit undo. And then next, if you want to add axis titles for the chart, like for the horizontal and the vertical, let's go back to Chart Elements and check axis titles. But you can see when I hover over it, it gives you a preview. And if you want to add one but not the other, then go ahead and click on the More button. And maybe you want to add just the horizontal axis title, check it, and come down below. Of course, delete the contents therein. And maybe it's about book sales. Go ahead and click off. Of course, you can go ahead and change the formatting for that, or even click and drag and move the box around. Let's go ahead and hit undo. And if you decide that now you want to add the vertical axis title, then let's go back to Access, click on More, and then check Primary, and then come over here, click in it, click and drag to select it, delete it. And, well, I know we've got the $sign here, but maybe we just have the numbers like 14, 12, and 10 and not the thousands. So I could go ahead and update this if that was the case and say it was in thousands of dollars. In any case, let me click off. Now we've done a little bit of formatting. How about if we do a little bit more, depending upon what we select? But first off, do you mind if I clean this up just a little bit, because I don't like those numbers that are overlaying each other. So let me go ahead and select that one. And then after I select it, you see how I got the four-way arrow? Click on it and drag it up. And ooh, look at that. It's got a line pointing right to that teeny tiny little column. So when I click off, there we go. Now I don't have overlaid labels, and I can identify which one goes to which. Cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and click in the chart area, and then come up here on the Format tab to the Shape Styles group, click on the More button, choose a style like Subtle Effect, Red Accent 2. Ooh, that's pretty subtle. And if I want to add an additional effect, like how about, let's do Shape Effects, a glow, and come over here, do purple, 8-point purple accent color 4. All right, fancy that. So depending upon what you have selected is how the formatting is going to be applied. Like if I go ahead and click on the thin line, the vertical axis major grid line, and you can see you get these little circles here that represent from one connection to the other, that grid line. That when I come up here on the Format tab, you can see the shape styles have changed. I also get the shape outline. Click on it because I want to make the weight of it heavy, and you can see it's thick. So when I click on the shape styles and I choose one here, wow, can't miss that. Let me go ahead and hit undo because, that's pretty intense. And then finally, how about we insert a caption? A caption is text appearing below an item like a chart that provides a bit of a synopsis about what you're looking at. You know, like when you're reading a book and it says see figure 1, or in this case chart 1, and instead of just typing in, let's use the insert caption feature so Word can code the caption. That way, later on, if you want to insert a table that automatically collects all those captions you've inserted within your document and put it into a table at the beginning of your document, it'll then be able to find them and tag it with the page number it can be found on. Doesn't that sound cool? This will be a simple introduction. In any case, to go ahead and insert a caption for our chart, we can do it one of a couple of ways. You can, well, first of all, you have to have the chart selected. Either come up here and click on the References tab, go to the Captions group, and it's right there. And you can see when you hover over it, hey, label your picture or object. Once you added the caption, you can reference that object anywhere in your document by inserting a cross-reference. Well, that's something in addition to a table of figures. And of course, we'll cover that later on in another training video. So right now, we get a lot of benefits from adding a caption or using the caption feature in Word. So let's go ahead and do that thing. Click on it, and you get the caption window. Close out of it because you can also right-click on the chart, not just anywhere, because when I right-click in the outer area, I get the insert caption. When I right-click on the innie, I don't get it. So outie, and you get it. You get it? Okay, cool. Insert caption. And there you go, the caption window. So you've got the labels. You have the figure, equation, table. So we'll go with the figure and come up here and do colon and say this is our sales. And there's, of course, a lot of other options here, but we're going to keep it simple to introduce and go over in greater detail about captions in a later training video. Click okie dokie, and there you go. Sales data chart on books. And then when you click and drag, as a side note, you see how it does a double shade on the number 1. That's the coding that behind the scenes Word has coded it. So later on when we want to do a cross-reference or insert it into a table of figures, it can identify with that code what page it's on, because maybe right now it's on this page and maybe later on we add 4 pages in front of it so it gets pushed down 4 pages. It's got to quickly identify where it's at, and it can do that. You want to see the code? Alrighty. Hold down the Alt key and hit F9. And there's the codes. Well, the codes for what we did in the previous training video when we inserted a formula to add up everything above that cell here and also the number format. So it shows us the code for that, but we're looking at this one right here. See, that's the coding that Word will use to be able to identify it and be able to use the more advanced features like cross-referencing or table of figures. Now let's get out of here before I lose you. Alt F9 and whew, that was close. Now, that will only work with Alt F9 because on the Home tab, in the paragraph group, when you show your codes, it's something entirely different. It's not the coding, it's just the codes for you when it comes to working with, well, like your paragraphs within the document with your paragraph markers and other simple coding for working with our document. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel, get notified of the latest videos, and for only $2 a month, you can have access to all my Microsoft Office training videos.